Okay. Could you all please rise for the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Basil Zemplis.
Good evening, everybody. Very nice to see everyone. Can I please welcome you to that's you saying that, Michelle. Can I please welcome everybody to the City of Perth November 2022 Ordinary Council meeting and declare it officially open at exactly 5 p.m. I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people of Western Australia, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. It is a privilege to be standing on Whadjuk Noongar land. CEO, can I ask you to recite the prayer, please?
Almighty God, under whose providence we hold responsibility for this city, grant us wisdom to understand its present needs, foresight to anticipate its future growth, and grace to serve our fellow citizens with integrity and selfless devotion, and to Thee be all blessing and glory forever. Amen.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Nice to see everyone tonight. Thanks a lot. Please note, as we always start with, that in accordance with Council Policy 1.4, this meeting is being live streamed. The recording will be made available on the City's website following the meeting. That's worth a look. Attendance, item 3. In attendance today we have the Deputy Lord Mayor Liam Gobbett, Councillor Di Bain, Councillor Brent Fleeton, Councillor Rebecca Gordon, Councillor Victor Coe and Councillor Catherine Leeser. In addition, I welcome officers, members of the public and any media in attendance or watching online. An apology 3.2 leave of absence has been received from Councillor Sandy Angie, and Councillor Clyde Bevan is currently on an approved leave of absence, in brackets, a cruise ship, I believe. 3.3, applications for leave of absence. I will now move to 3.3. Any elected members have an application for a leave of absence? No. Will someone please... Oh, we don't need to do that, do we? Okay, there are none. Rightio. Announcements by the Lord Mayor. Thank you. So just a couple of things to get through. Last Wednesday, the Deputy Lord Mayor, the CEO and I attended the second of 2 annual City of Perth committee meetings. Your first time, Deputy Lord Mayor? Good fun? Enjoy it? Good meeting, I thought. Everyone in good spirits? Cracking jokes. Some of the topics that were covered were the Elizabeth Quay handover, water bank and the temporary use around water bank whilst a longer term plan from Development WA is developed, the WACA aquatic facility, particularly around the aquatic funding agreement to be signed, Swan River ferry service and an increase or a trial, if you like, of more activation of Swan River ferries. These are all discussion points, as I said. Homelessness and the safe night space, the Terrace Road car park, police and Northbridge and the James Street closure, which I'll just add away from the meeting. The last of the 4 weekends of trial closures ended last weekend. Christmas in the City of Perth, at Narrows Bridge lighting and retail trading hours in the City of Perth were some of the topics that were discussed. And CEO, I think I'm right in saying that once the minutes are received, they will be placed onto our website.
Correct.
Thank you. So thanks to both you and the Deputy Lord Mayor for accompanying me. Other items from me, triumphant launch on the weekend of our Rio Tinto Christmas lights. Really great crowds despite the wet weather on Friday night. In fact, the Friday night crowd was very impressive despite the wet weather, and we turned the Christmas tree on in Forest Place, and really good crowds through the 2 trails, predominantly the CBD and Northbridge. And I know that our stakeholders were delighted in what they have seen over the first few days and first few nights. And now that the weather begins to warm up, we really are anticipating bumper crowds right through until January 2, when the Christmas Lights Trail comes to an end. And likewise, the terrific City of Light shows, Saturday night and Sunday night, presented by Roy Hill. The crowd's absolutely fantastic. To see around 7,500 people in Elizabeth Quay, which is the capacity, and Barrack Square also absolutely full, and then those people spilling into the Christmas lights trails either pre or post was fabulous, and exactly the sort of activated Elizabeth Quay we were hoping to see. And those crowds were replicated on the Sunday night, and that was very, very encouraging. So we've shown what we are able to do with that space. I think most people are aware, and I've certainly communicated with elected members, the Saturday night drone show, that part of it was absolutely flawless. Sunday night, it is well documented that some of the drones were not on their best behaviour, and I know that our providers are conducting a review at the moment to ascertain what the technical glitch was caused by. What I will say is, not only were the crowds absolutely fabulous, and a great credit to everyone here at the City of Perth, but I'm very pleased that all of the safety procedures and protocols were observed as they should be, exclusion zones and the like, and therefore any impact of a drone that may have fallen from its formation meant that it fell into the river and nowhere near anybody else as the protocols demand. So it was very pleasing that all of those safety protocols were in place and obviously observed. We look forward to our next City of Light shows, which are on New Year's Eve, and they are fireworks only. New Year's Eve at 9 o'clock, the family show at Elizabeth Quay, and the midnight fireworks at Northbridge, and then Australia Day, January 26, a hybrid fireworks and drone show. That's next on the agenda, with 2 drone shows to follow in February. But of course, that is accepting and assuming that we have all of the necessary safety clearance, and with everything that we do, it will be safety first. Finally, another pat on the back for Team WA. I often talk about the team game that we're playing. It was Forbes 1 week for Perth with a high accolade, top 10 of the 23 places that people must visit. That was 1 week, and then WA the next week from Lonely Planet in the trails list, or the most desirable trails, Western Australia being recognised there. So, as you can see, great momentum for both our city and our state. We continue to celebrate it. We love it. All of those accolades coming our way, and there is a huge opportunity for us not only to continue to work together, but to continue to celebrate them together and make sure that we attract as many visitors from interstate or overseas as possible. But Forbes and Lonely Planet within the space of a week, that is really good going and great momentum for, as I said, Perth, the City of Perth, and obviously our state of Western Australia. So moving on, item 5 on the agenda is disclosures of interest. And CEO, can I ask that you detail the interests which have been disclosed?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The following interests have been disclosed. Councillor Angie has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.1 as she has met with several members of the organising committee. Councillor Fleeton has disclosed an indirect financial interest in item 12.1 as Curtin University is a client of his employer, GT Communications, and he works directly on that account. The Deputy Lord Mayor has disclosed the following impartiality interests in item 12.2, application A, as he attended the opening of the Strange Festival last year as the city's representative, application E, as he attended the opening of Buddha's Birthday and a Multicultural Festival last year as the city's representative, and application G, as he attended the opening event for Netball WA last year as the city's representative. Councillor Fleeton has disclosed the following interests in item 12.2, an indirect financial interest in application D, as Active Foundation is a client of GT Communications, his employer, and an impartiality interest in application E, as he attended a Buddhist event as the city's representative earlier this year. Councillor Coe has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.2E, as he was invited and attended the Buddha's birthday celebration last year. Yourself, Lord Mayor, you have disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.2F, as Paul Nash, who is involved in the management of the event, is known to you, and Councillor Bain has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.2G, as Tourism WA has supported West Coast Fever in the past, and she sits as a Commissioner on the Board of Tourism WA.
Thank you very much, CEO. I left one thing off my announcement, so I'm going to circle back to it now. Last Thursday night, I was able to join a group of the City of Perth administration, including the CEO, and Dale Page, the General Manager of Planning and Economic Development. Did I get that right, General Manager? I did that without looking, and I'm very proud of myself. That's the first time, I think. Well done, team. The City of Perth received a Pinnacles Award for leadership from the Australian Institute Management in the category of Asian Engagement Excellence, headlined by the MOU being signed with Dempsey Star, but I think all of our elected members know of our concerted efforts in this space, and clearly with 60% of the world's population being in our time zone, we live in the most populous time zone in the world, those opportunities are real, and I'm very pleased to see that us and our efforts to capitalise on them are being recognised. And well done to all of the team, and I should shout out for Daniel High and Michael Feeks for the engagement that they have led and driven as part of the economic development team. And I reckon I'm going to get one more name. And Yasmin as well. And if we knew her surname, if I knew her surname, I would say it now, but I can't remember it. So, but Yasmin knows who she is. Thank you. All right. Let's go to item 6.1, public questions. See, have any public questions been received?
No, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. So before we commence public question time, we don't need that because we haven't got any, right? Thank you. Item 7, before I call for a mover on this item, please note that the confirmation of minutes section in the agenda incorrectly refers to a special council meeting being held on 25 October 2022. No special council meeting took place on that date. So I'll just clarify that. So will somebody please move a motion to only confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held 25 October 2022 as a true and correct record. Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Is that a seconder? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Do any members oppose this motion? This motion being unopposed, it is now carried unanimously. Questions by members which due notice has been given? We don't have any. 9, correspondence, none tonight. And 10, there have been no petitions received. So before we move on to reports, the following items have been identified to be moved on block. They are 14.1, monthly financial statements, September 2022. 14.2, schedule of accounts paid September 2022. 14.4, Chief Executive Officer credit card. 15.1, 2023 council meeting schedule. 15.3, City of Perth inquiry recommendations, quarterly progress update, September 2022. 16.1, review of council policy 1.4, recording and live streaming meetings of council. 16.2, review of council policy 1.5, caretaker period. 16.3, review of council policy 2.7, property performance investment and disposal. 16.5, review of council policy 4.1, neighbourhood place planning and engagement. 16.6, review of council policy 4.6, honorary awards. Do any elected members wish to extract any of the items I've just listed from the on-block motion? No? Okay, so I'll now move a motion that these items be dealt with on block. Could I get a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Leeser. Any members opposed this motion? And this motion being unopposed, I'll declare it carried unanimously. The recommendations of those items have now been passed on block in accordance with clause 9.2 of the City of Perth Standing Orders Local Law 2009, and the officer and or committee recommendations have been adopted by Council. So I'll now be moving on to the reports that are extracted for debate. Yasmin Abraham was the answer that I was looking for. Thank you, Yasmin, and I apologise for forgetting your surname previously. 12, Community Development Alliance reports. 12.1, 2022-2023 Economic Development Sponsorship. And this has been extracted for debate. There are various interests. Councillor Fleeton, thank you. Indirect financial, so required to leave the chamber, and if the door could close, thank you. So would anybody like to move the officer's recommendation here, please? I got a whistle there. Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Gobbett. Deputy Lord Mayor, nothing from you? Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak for or against? Put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We'll keep Councillor Fleeton outside for the moment. I think Mika is the right way to handle this. This is 12.2 event sponsorships round 2. So noting that Councillor Fleeton has an indirect financial interest in application D relating to Active Foundation, he's going to stay out of the chamber while Council considers the application, and upon his return we will consider the balance of applications. I'll note then, in addition to Councillor Fleeton, for 12.2, 12.2D, there are no others, are there? I might just read them now that I'm there, though, for the following. So, Councillor Fleeton, impartiality on item 12.2E. Deputy Lord Mayor Gobbett, impartiality, item 12.2A, E and G. Myself, impartiality, 12.2F. Councillor Bain, impartiality, 12.2G. And Councillor Coe, impartiality, item 12.2E. So we have dealt with those for when we get to them. They are on the record. So, would anyone like to move the officer's recommendation relating to application D, Active Foundation for the City to Surf event? Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Seconder, Councillor Coe. Thank you. Nothing, Deputy Lord Mayor. Councillor Coe. Anyone wish to speak for or against? We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And could we invite Councillor Fleeton to come back? So would somebody like to, thanks Councillor Fleeton, would somebody like to move the balance of the officer's recommendation, noting this excludes application D? Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Line ball. Councillor Leeser, thank you. Deputy Lord Mayor. Councillor Leeser. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak for or against? Put that one to the vote. All those in favour? And that has been carried unanimously. So we move now to we move to 13. This is Commercial Services Alliance and Infrastructure and Operations Alliance reports, and 13.1 is the parking fee review. Would anyone like to move the officer's recommendation? Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Leeser. Deputy Lord Mayor. Councillor Leeser?
I think I reserve my right, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak for? Against?
Lord Mayor, I'll speak against.
Okay.
I'm surprised no one's actually spoken for this to help me understand what we're trying to do here. I'll start with a few comments around why we're in this business. I think it was very early on in our piece where we were asking, what's the overall strategy? Why are we in this business? We have to be in the business of parking on street, but we don't have to be in the off-street parking. I asked a number of questions of the city over the weekend, and I had a very good discussion with the General Manager about the long-standing issues in this business unit and what's holding us back from optimising it. I fully appreciate that it is going to take time, but the answer to our questions can't be ad hoc, 50 cents here, 50 cents there. It's not just 50 cents in some instances. Some of these price increases are upwards of 17%. And I just want to touch on one answer that was provided to me after the ABS last week around our most recent marketing campaign. We had a campaign which was aimed, or the objective was to decrease by 5% over 6 months, or the first 6 months, the perception that parking is expensive in the city, and then a further 5% in the remaining months of the campaign. So at the start, we took a snapshot, and it was 43.7% of respondents said that parking was expensive. And after our campaign, or at the end of the campaign, 46.3% agreed that parking was expensive. So we went backwards. So the overall question I've got right now, and I'm not going to take up too much time, is the sustained damage to our reputation worth the money that we're taking in right now? And are we making progress towards the underlying issues impacting this business? I do believe we are making progress towards the underlying issues that the General Manager outlined in a conversation to me. I don't think we're moving quick enough with the property portfolio review and actions coming from that. It's criminal how badly this business has been treated by former councillors and former administration officers, and I encourage every councillor to have an in-depth conversation with the General Manager, with the CEO's permission, of just how badly this business is right now under the surface. But it's our problem to fix now. But I just think where the city's at in terms of what we're trying to do and why we're in this game, I just think these price increases right now, while the money will be quarantined for use, it's not worth the continued damage to our reputation as a destination, so I can't support it.
Thank you, Councillor Fleet. Does anybody wish to speak for or against? Councillor Leeser, you'd reserved your right, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just think these small rises are prudent. I think we need to do some budget repair for this business, and I'm fully supportive of the administration's recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor Leeser. Deputy Lord Mayor. So we'll put this, yes, Councillor Bay.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, I was going to speak against the motion, if that's okay. I've just prepared some notes. Whilst I appreciate and have full respect for the city's predicament, a $2 million plus revenue shortfall is less than ideal. I don't agree that hiking up fees and charges is the solution. Many in the community have said to me now for quite some time that they're bemused and befuddled as to why the city is so focused on creating a business out of parking. And I've been on the inside here at the City of Perth for a couple of years now, and I'm yet to be convinced that we have the right business model. The cost-benefit analysis done by the CFO shows that parking is now reducing our total rate burden. But what if parking is a disrupted business model, and if we rely on revenue from parking for the foreseeable future, would we be embedding irreversible costs into our business as usual activity in the city? I encourage the city and my fellow elected members to, in this instance, see the forest through the trees and to find savings and productivity measures to reduce the costs associated with our parking business. We're not using new generation technology. We've had smart city grants and we have a technology plan, yet when I go to Vincent or indeed Melville, I can easily and seamlessly pay for parking using my iPhone. When I peruse our 10-year community strategy, we don't talk about future plans for parking. We talk about encouraging people to catch public transport, to walk through the city, etc., to cycle to the city indeed. It could be argued that a full car park is a good thing, a deterrent for people who want to drive in the city. Perhaps they'll consider taking public transport. We're supplying good value for money, a great service for the community. The car parks are full. It creates a great business case for other ratepayers to come in and offer alternative parking solutions where they themselves can profiteer from it. Being more expensive only impacts negatively on our reputation, and I concur with Councillor Fleeton and his position that reputations are very easily destroyed and very hard to make. So I encourage my elected members to not hike up fees and charges for parking this time round. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Does anybody wish to speak for or against the officer's recommendation? Councillor Gordon.
Thank you. I'm supportive of the fee increase as recommended by our officers. Councillor Fleeton stated that the fee increase was ad hoc. It's not my perception that this is the case. These fee increases have been proposed by our administration for nearly the entirety of our tenure here. And elected members have denied the increase largely for the entire 2-year periods. But at some stage, we have to accept that the decisions that we are making as a council cost money and require funding. So that those decisions include the extension of the free nighttime parking. We as a council requested that of the administration, and that costs money, and this is our opportunity to find an appropriate source of funds to fund that initiative. Councillor Fleeton and Councillor Bain also spoke of a reputational damage. I think we as a council are well aware that we don't actually have brand recognition when it comes to our car park. Visitors to the city don't know who owns which car park, and I don't think we can clearly correlate public perception of parking fees with any increases that we may make. People will always perceive the cost of parking is expensive, regardless of what actual fee they are paying. I think it's flawed to say that we shouldn't be reliant on parking fees, therefore we don't have to ensure that it's financially sustainable. We know, and it is a fact, that if we don't get the increased funds from parking users, that we have to levy it directly from our ratepayers. To me, the reason I'm mostly supportive of the recommendation is that people are habitual in nature. They will seek to use the same car park they always use. But if that car park is full, they may not visit the city again because they do not have the ready access to how they want to attend an appointment or visit a coffee shop. They can find a coffee shop in a suburb that doesn't have restrictive parking arrangements. So to me, I'd rather that we're increasing, as per the officer's recommendation, that largely impacts our workers, like myself, that drive into the city every day, who can be encouraged to utilise public transport. If we can get those people, by a slight increase, encourages some of those people back onto public transport, and we create a greater availability of our car bays, and in the meantime we support our preferred initiatives, including the free nighttime parking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gordon. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against the officer's recommendation? I also will speak for the officer's recommendation. This is the first parking fee rise since 2018 in the City of Perth, and it is a modest rise by any standard. And we are all well aware that the cost of providing all of the services that this city provides has risen and continues to rise. Our parking, as Councillor Bain pointed out, is good value for money, and will still be good value for money even after these modest rises. And at the same time, we note that all of our state government fees and charges are on the rise. I think it's absolutely reasonable in managing our affairs that we agree with the officer's recommendation of this modest rise in parking fees. Anyone else for or against? Deputy Lord Mayor?
Wish to close. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
We'll put this one to the vote then. All those in favour? Those in favour is Councillor Leeser, Councillor Coe, Deputy Lord Mayor and Councillor Gordon, and those against Councillor Bain and Councillor Fleeton. Thanks everyone. We'll go to 13.2, Budget Adjustments 22-23. Would anyone like to move the officer's recommendation here? Thanks, Deputy Lord Mayor. Seconder? Thanks, Councillor Leeser. Councillor Gobbett? Councillor Leeser? Anyone for or against? Councillor Gobbett? No. I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. 14. Corporate Services Alliance reports. 14.1 is the monthly financial statement, September 2022. This is carried on block. 14.2, schedule of accounts paid September 2022 on block. That's gone through. 14.3 is extracted for debate. Corporate Business Plan Quarterly Progress Report 1 and the amendment. Would anyone like to move the officer's recommendation here? Thanks, Councillor Leeser. Seconder? DLM, thank you. Councillor Leeser?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just to say that the progress on the report is quite remarkable, and I thank the administration, and I'm fully supportive of this item.
Thanks, Councillor Leeser. Councillor Gobbett? Anyone for or against?
I'd like to move an amendment to the officer's recommendation.
Yes, Councillor Gordon.
Such that we endorse the corporate business plan, and then at the end of the sentence, with the deletion of footnote 13. which is the
So
subject.
that would come after 14.3A, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Footnote 13, and that was the one we discussed last week.
Yeah.
What is that?
Where is it?
What page, Councillor Gordon, if you could?
Where's it gone? Oh, sorry, footnote 3 it is. Footnote 3, my apologies. And it's on page 207.
207. So I might take this opportunity to ask the General Manager of Corporate Services if there's... Oh, sorry, need a seconder first, don't we? Councillor Bain, thank you. So, General Manager Corporate Services, if there are any implications in deleting that footnote.
Through you, Lord Mayor, I think this is best directed to the GM of Commercial Services as it impacts the delivery of his item.
Through the Lord Mayor. Yeah, we can delete the footnote. However, as I concluded in the work plan for property, it is a lot of the property delivery is continuing on finalising the social needs analysis, and I think this was put in for clarity.
All right, Sia, is there anything you would like to add to this?
I think it has some potential ramifications. It's just the social needs analysis is being undertaken by the Community Development Alliance and will then inform some of the work that's undertaken in the Commercial Alliance. So I'm just concerned that the deletion may somehow impact, but I wonder if there is an opportunity to take this offline, or unless there's a clearer explanation that could be given, if I invite the General Manager Community Development maybe to respond.
Thank you, through the Lord Mayor. From my consideration, I suggest that this footnote is really for clarification of information we've already provided through a CRBN, which has simply highlighted that we are undertaking a social needs analysis. We have contracted someone who has started that process, so we are confident that the timelines will be met. Thank you.
So if I can speak to it briefly, thank you for providing me with more information, that's great. The reason I'm seeking to delete it is that we're some 5 months into the corporate business plan reporting period, and this is the first time on the publication of the agenda for the agenda briefing forum, was the first time this subject too has been presented to elected members. It certainly wasn't part of the corporate business plan adopted by us, and I fully agree that the best delivery of the property portfolio projects are subject to a social needs analysis. However, it is a team effort. It's not one department against another department. Mm-hmm. This should have been put on the critical path on day one in order to ensure that the GM of property could deliver on his targets as well. So I just think it's too late in the piece to be saying that this is subject to the delivery of something, and if we're suggesting that the social needs analysis can be delayed and therefore the delivery of those items, no one can be held accountable for them, it's certainly too late in the piece to be telling us that they may not occur in accordance with the time frame that we expected. So my preference is to remove the footnote and prioritise the delivery of the social needs analysis so we can deliver on all items in the corporate business plan.
Thanks, Councillor Gordon. So, Councillor Bain, you're the seconder on the amendment.
Yeah, thank you. I concur with Councillor Gordon. It's the first time I saw it was last Tuesday, and given we're sort of, I guess, more than a quarter or nearly halfway through our corporate business plan, I was surprised that there's sort of caveats being added. It looked like a caveat added to the delivery of projects. But tonight you've obviously clarified that it's not much of a big deal. So if we could delete footnote 3, I think we'd all be happy. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Bain. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the amendment? Anyone else? Yes,
Not
Deputy
speaking
Lord Mayor.
against, but just a question if I might.
Sure, yeah.
So the corporate business plan, if I could seek some commentary from the CEO, is the financial year worth of work, which will be delivered one way or another. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, that's correct.
Thanks, Dealer. Any wishing to speak for or against? No. Okay. So we're on the amendment here. Anybody else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Gordon? Thank you. Let's put it to the vote. All those in favour of the amendment? And that is Councillor Coe, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Bain, Councillor Gordon and Councillor Fleeton. Are those against? Councillor Leeser, thank you. Let's move to 14.4. This. Sorry. So we go back to the primary. So this is point 2 now as well, correct? So 1 and 2, yeah. Okay. So this was moved by Councillor Leeser. So Councillor Leeser. You've spoken. So has D.L. Lamb. Stuck in late. Councillor Gordon. Anyone else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Leeser. Okay, so we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. 14.4 is Chief Executive Officer credit card. This is on block. 15 is Chief Executive Officer reports. 15.1, the 2023 council meeting schedule. That's on block. 15.2, the resignation of Councillor Fleeton's committee membership, changes to committee structure and appointment of committee members. I'm going to move the officer's recommendation for this item, and in doing so will nominate myself to be appointed as replacement member in point 3 below of the officer's recommendation, and I'm nominating Councillor Bain as deputy member in point 5 of the officer's recommendation. Councillor Bain, do you accept my nomination?
Yes, I accept your nomination. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Coe. Nothing from me. Councillor Coe. Anyone wish to speak for or against? Councillor Gordon.
I have a question that came out of the changes this week. It says that it requires an amendment to the Audit and Risk Management Committee terms of reference to include a deputy member. However, we have previously had deputy members to the Audit and Risk Committee, so I'm just seeking to understand whether they were validly appointed or whether this amendment is actually required or not.
Thanks, Councillor Gordon. Yes, I must admit that my recollection was there were some deputies, but I'm not certain. Now I'm not certain whether they were actually formally recognised as deputies or they were just councillors who attended, and the terminology applied to their appearance at those meetings was deputies, perhaps incorrectly. So, CEO, perhaps we can get some advice on that.
If we could invite the governance manager, please.
When council last considered the appointment of members to this committee in October last year, you only appointed primary members. You didn't appoint any deputies at that time.
So prior to that, we did have deputies though. So is there any issue with the decisions those deputies made? Because as a deputy prior to that, I was called into almost every committee meeting.
It's no issue.
No issue.
So with that, anyone else for or against?
Just
Councillor
a
Fleeton.
question, Lord Mayor. What's the correct name of the committee?
CEO? Which one, the audit and risk or the other one? CEO?
The audit, and I'll have to, where is it in the minutes? Could I ask the Audit and Risk Management Committee?
No, it's just no management.
Okay. Should we make an amendment?
So we need an amendment there. Where is it? Yeah, we can do that. Yep. So management gone. Yes, Councillor Bain?
Can I throw another curveball in there? My understanding is that Liam Gobbett is the actual deputy presiding member of the Audit and Risk Committee. So are we nominating me to now be that and you not?
Yeah, governance?
Councillor Bain, if you're appointed as deputy committee member, you attend instead of a primary member who can't attend. You're not being appointed as a deputy presiding member.
So two different things.
Two different things.
Yep.
Just a question on the policy side, if I can. Summarising all of our discussions at both the last policy committee meeting and the city's professional advice, how are you going to structure this moving forward when policies need to be reviewed, or you identify yourself that a policy is not working?
Yeah, CEO?
So if I draw your attention to line 8 in the report, which talks about any policies needing council consideration will actually be referred through the EMES process and then into council for consideration. This is actually the process that was adopted for the procurement policy, which was recently approved in council.
Anyone else for or against? Nothing from me. We'll put this on. Yes.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, just to, in acknowledging point 2, to acknowledge all of the work that has been done by our governance team in the Policy and Legislation Committee and formerly the Policy Committee. It was a significant amount of work, and I think that should be recognised in this forum. Thank you.
Well said, Deputy Lord Mayor. Thank you. No one else for or against? We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thanks, everyone. Let's go then to item 15.3, City of Perth Inquiry Recommendations, Quarterly Progress Update, September 2022. This one is on block. As is 16, Policy and Legislation Committee Report, 16.1, Review of Council Policy 1.4, Recording and Live Streaming Meetings of Council. Also on block, 16.2, Review of Council Policy 1.5, Caretaker Period. And 16.3, Review of Council Policy 2.7, Property Performance, Investment and Disposal. 16.4 is Review of Council Policy 2.8, Acting and Temporary Chief Executive Officer. Now, prior to dealing with this item, please note that the voting requirement has been updated from simple majority to absolute majority, as required by section 5.39C2 of the Local Government Act 1995. Would anyone like to move the committee's recommendation? Thanks, Deputy Lord Mayor. Seconder? Thanks, Councillor Leeser. DLM? Councillor Leeser. Anyone else for or against? Councillor Gobbard, DLM. Let's put this one to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. 16.5, Review of Council Policy 4.1, Neighbourhood, Place Planning and Engagement. Also on block from earlier. 16.6, Review of Council Policy 4.6, Honorary Awards on block. 17, motions of which notice has been given. We have one on tonight's agenda. That's 17.1, notice of motion from Councillor Brent Fleeton for COP29, the Perth Exploratory Committee. Councillor Fleeton, do you wish to move your motion?
Thanks, Lord Mayor. It's on screen. Can I take it as read? Or do you want me to read it out?
Take it as read, I think.
Yep, thank you.
Do we have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Coe. So the item is now open for...
Thank you, Lord Mayor. If I can continue, thank you.
Yours, yeah.
So the conference would be the most important economic development opportunity for our city and our ratepayers since CHOGM in 2011. Having this conference in Perth as we debate the future of how we produce and consume energy as a society makes sense, as Western Australia is the energy capital of the world. This will be a coming together of the best minds in energy, climate change, tech and public policy. And the benefits to our city, our state and our country are both obvious but too many to list. I believe it'll be a wise investment on behalf of ratepayers to put our best foot forward in securing private partners along with the state and federal government support for a future conference. And I do note the wording in the motion in the agenda is flexible enough to not focus on one particular year. Forget the title of the motion. What we are actually voting on here does not stipulate a specific year. Councillors, I really want us to utilise the Lord Mayor's considerable personal network and the network around this table, along with our tireless work ethic, to lock in partners necessary to make this a success. This may actually happen in Perth when none of us are sitting around this table. The planning for this type of event will take years. And while ignoring climate change as an economic development portfolio issue is a fallacy, it's not about ideology. This council should want the most famous and most relevant economic conference in the world coming to Perth. And I want us to meet the rhetoric that's being put out there since our borders have come down. And I'll just give you a few examples. Minister for the Environment, Rhys Whitby, tweeted on 15 November, getting the message out at COP27 that Western Australia has huge natural resources in solar and wind and potential green hydrogen to be a renewable energy superpower. Pretty strong words. Earlier today, the Department of Jobs, Tourism, Science and Innovation, promoting their new flagship publication, which they posted on social media, find out how WA is positioning itself to become a leader in green energy by promoting our clean energy vision and building partnerships on the world stage. And finally, today's email direct to councillors from Kelly O'Rourke, who is South 32's Chief Legal and External Affairs Officer, who said, having recently participated in the UN Climate Change Conference hosted in Egypt, I can attest to the value of bringing together thought leaders from across government, business, non-government organisations in collaboration to respond to the critical issue of climate change. COP attendees are exposed to the latest thinking on climate issues, and the conference provides an opportunity to build on a global network of subject matter experts. As you're aware, COP is the world's preeminent climate change forum and is a key driver of the global response to climate change. While the core of a COP is the formal negotiations between governments, there's an increasingly large and consequential process that occurs throughout the conference where new pledges are announced and collaborations are established. The diversity of attendance and the abundance of platforms for panel discussions and presentations means that there is virtually no constraint to the range of perspectives presented. This provides a window to emerging issues and priority focus areas that are likely to dominate the discussion in coming years. As the motion by Councillor Fleeton highlights, WA is home to several of the world's largest resource and energy companies, with many of these companies headquartered in Perth, and combined with the close proximity to our Pacific neighbours, it seems logical that Perth would be the standout location in Australia to host COP. South 32 supports this motion and wants to work with us. In closing, Lord Mayor, let's just keep in mind if Australia hosts this at a future date, the Queensland Government can't cope. They're going to be battling with the Olympics. Victoria has the Commonwealth Games. New South Wales is tiny in comparison to us in terms of energy. If we lose this to Adelaide, we're going to look bloody ridiculous. The motion as worded will start a long and sustained effort to bring everyone together to make it happen. At whatever year we can ideally position ourselves for, it'll position us as a leader. It gives us a goal to truly make us a global city. And let's actually invest in something to do rather than just talk after so many years of hiding in the corner.
Thank you, Councillor Fleeton. Councillor Coe?
Nothing to add, thanks.
Thank you. So the item is now open for debate, and in the event of Councillor Fleeton's motion not being carried, I'm going to foreshadow that I intend to move an alternative motion as distributed earlier today. Councillor Fleeton, we've heard from you. Councillor Coe, anyone else wish to speak for? Councillor Bain.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. And I commend Councillor Fleeton for putting this notice of motion forward. I don't agree with the discussion points that have been made by the administration. I actually do have more information with my other hats on, and I know that they're actually incorrect. I think it's an opportunity for this council to send some ambitious messaging to the world. We can perhaps make a declaration that we will be net zero by 2050, and if Perth doesn't, if Perth doesn't lead this, you can be rest assured that there will be another council in Western Australia that will, and it's most likely Fremantle. So let's not let this opportunity slip past or through our fingers. Thanks.
Councillor Bain, perhaps for the benefit of the councillors with the decision-making process, are you able to elaborate on what you think is incorrect?
No, Lord Mayor.
Okay. All right. So we don't. So, okay. All right. Anyone else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Gordon.
I'm surprising myself and I'm going to speak for the motion. I didn't expect to be doing that. And unfortunately, I think there's additional information contained within this document that is convincing me to support the Councillor Flayton's motion. So appreciate if we can ignore the title of this motion, which doesn't form part of the motion, so hopefully that can be administratively removed, that if we're saying that Australia has stated its intent to chase COP31 in 2026, then absolutely why shouldn't it be here? For all the reasons Councillor Flayton stated, I certainly know my organisation participates heavily in COP and does a lot of travel to get there, so let's bring those people here and show them what we have to offer. Not a huge fan of spending our ratepayer money, as I consistently don't like to spend too much, but if we're saying that it's 250,000 to bring COP here or 250,000 to bring the World Energy Cities Partnership AGM here, I know which one I'd prefer. I probably don't have context as to what our city is currently identifying as our number one economic development policy priority. But other than that, I think, I think the argument's been made by the alternate, unfortunately.
Thanks, Councillor Gordon. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against? Deputy Lord Mayor?
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Just a couple of questions, if I may. The discussion in the report talks about implications to projects that we've just noted as part of our corporate business plan earlier on in the meeting. What part of that now will be impacted if the motion is successful? Is the CEO or relevant GM able to speak to what's not going to happen?
Yes, thank you. Could I invite the General Manager, Planning and Economic Development to respond, please?
Thank you. Through you, Lord Mayor, could I just clarify the question? I'm uncertain about which motion it's relating to. Thank you. Through you, Lord Mayor. The team that would be running this particular project and assisting with it are the team that are currently working on a number of larger events. They're the team that are similarly in the comments in response to the alternate motion. They're also the team that are working on a potential delegation to Houston early next year. And a number of other initiatives under the Economic Development Plan.
Deputy Lord Mayor?
Thank you. Ms Page, when you mentioned larger events, what do you mean the impact is going to be? Is that the events can't happen, that they're going to cost more? What's the context for those larger events that are going to be impacted?
Thank you. Through you, Lord Mayor. So, for instance, we have an event coming up in December that the team is dedicating all their focus to at the moment. If the team needs to be diverted off that to start looking at other events such as this one, it will mean that one of them doesn't happen, or we would need to outsource that work.
Anyone else wish to speak for?
Question, if I can.
Or again, yeah, sure.
Just following up from that, through the Lord Mayor to the General Manager, would it be fair to say we don't need to start this year if this motion passes? So that work can still happen and we can get on with it later.
GM?
Through you, Lord Mayor, if there is an appetite that this is to change the title of this NOM and it is for a later COP event, then certainly the work could be programmed in later, but that then brings into question the need for the 250,000 that's being requested in the mid-year budget review.
So can I just ask a question, maybe to you, CEO, in the first instance? So I'm looking at a release here from the Honourable Chris Bowen MP, Minister for Climate Change and Energy, dated 15 November 2022, where he says, this is why, along with the Pacific nations, we are seeking to host COP31 in 2026. Is the view of the administration that an event like this can happen without the federal government's imprimatur and leadership over the event?
It is a federal government, it's priority, and obviously would require state government and I suspect the local government or city that was involved as well.
Okay. Councillor Fleeton.
Just want to make it absolutely clear, the title has got no bearing whatsoever on the resolution that we're passing. So you just Don't worry about 29. Focus on what the wording is in terms of a future COP. So it could quite easily fit in with 31.
Okay, well, excuse us for confusing that, I suppose. Yeah, is there anyone who wishes to speak? Yes, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Another question, if I may, Lord Mayor. The point one of the motion talks to the state and federal member. Have either of those members made a comment to the city or written a letter of support or any other indication that they might be supportive of the motion?
CEO?
Not that I'm aware. I'm not certain that we've made approaches. I'll invite the General Manager, Planning and Economic Development to comment, please.
Thank you. Through you, Lord Mayor, no, we've not received any indication from state or feds in response to this.
Okay, is it, yes, Councillor Leeser.
Another question, Lord Mayor. I also read a similar press release that you had read out, and it said that the Swiss government dropped out of hosting it because the cost was going to be about 470 million. Now, obviously, we don't have 470 million. So do we have any idea of what actually hosting something like this would cost?
CEO?
No, but I would reiterate this is actually a federal government initiative, so costs would be borne by the federal government in bringing this to Australia in the main, and potentially the state. I couldn't comment.
Okay, so are there any further questions, or is there anyone wishing to speak for or against? Look, I will speak against. I absolutely admire the spirit and ambition of Councillor Fleeton's notice of motion. I think going after and attracting big events is absolutely what this city is all about. And I'd like to think that I have demonstrated that's what I'm all about. I've certainly advocated for and then supported the AFL Grand Final, Commonwealth Games 2026, Special Olympics 2027. I've been vocal on those. But I think what we see from those events is that unless the state government is committed, then the chances of getting them or making them happen in your domain are virtually impossible. Now, the state government was committed to the AFL Grand Final, and guess what had happened? They didn't commit to the Commonwealth Games. That's going to Victoria. And they haven't committed to the Special Olympics 2027, and it would appear as though that is not going to happen. And so the reason I highlight those three events that I've been very vocal on is because without the state government saying we're in, it doesn't matter what the Lord Mayor or, for that matter, the City of Perth say. And so similarly, at an event like COP29, notwithstanding the fact that Councillor Fleeton has said insert another COP here, notwithstanding that fact, it's clear to me, and would be clear, I would think, to any observer, that unless the state and federal government drive Australia towards hosting this event in the city of the federal government's choice, then there is virtually no chance of it happening. I've told you what Chris Bowen said, and obviously he's said by linking it with, along with the Pacific nations, that he's planning to have it on the east coast of Australia, not the west coast of Australia. I think that is absolutely clear. I also want to add, though, that that ambition can extend to other things. And as I've mentioned, I have foreshadowed, or will foreshadow, if this doesn't get up, and obviously Councillor Gordon has mentioned the World Energy Cities Partnership Annual General Meeting, of which we are a foundation member of, that I will put that on the table as something, if Council does not support Councillor Fleeton's motion here, I'll put that on the table as an alternate motion. So again, in closing, what I've got to say, I absolutely admire the spirit, I absolutely admire the ambition, but at the same time, it's very difficult for me to stand here and commit $250,000 of ratepayer money when I know that unless the federal government and the state government along with them say, yep, we're in, we're going, we want it, then it's not going to matter what we say, and it could ultimately prove to be a waste of taxpayer money. And I can't stand for a waste of ratepayer money. And the final point is, you've heard how much noise I made about the Commonwealth Games. I was able to do that without any ratepayer money. And I'm glad there was no ratepayer money associated with it because, as I've said, the state government were a no, and fair enough, it's their decision and their prerogative. But without them being a yes, doesn't change the argument. You need the state and federal government to be on board to drive this host city, and it largely falls to them. So I, despite being a, as I've said, strong admirer of the passion and of the ambition, will not be supporting the councillor's motion. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against? Councillor Leeser.
This is a question, Lord Mayor, I think possibly for you, but for the administration. If we delayed this, if we deferred this until after any announcement from Minister Bowen, so we would know exactly what he was going to do for 2026, do we have any idea when that announcement might be?
Well, I don't know the answer. CEO?
No, we're unaware. When the announcement is, but-
Anyone else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Fleet.
I'll wrap it up. Thank you, Lord Mayor. Very spirited. Councillor Leeser, to respond to your one, I find it bizarre that you would wait for the minister to say where it is and then go, actually, we were interested. The motion as it words, you would only spend the $250,000 if you had something to spend it on. It's not like that's going out the door unless that working group is red hot for it. Lord Mayor, you've drastically undersold your influence and ability here. How do we make Perth a choice if we don't say we want it? Patrick Gorman and John Carey aren't going to write us letters because one insignificant councillor's raised a motion. They're going to get interested when the motion passes and when they know that we're serious. I mean, to sit here and go, there was a press release by a minister, that's verbatim, that's going to happen. I think you need to pay a little bit more attention to how Canberra works. But Lord Mayor, I would much prefer you to use your skills, energy and 250 grand to chase COP than an AGM. That's as simple as that.
All right then, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Fleeton, Councillor Gordon and Councillor Bain. And those against? Councillor Leeser, Councillor Coe, Deputy Lord Mayor and Lord Mayor. Let's move then. Oh, so now the foreshadowed motion comes into play. So, now, elected members have a version of my reasons. But I'm going to move the alternate motion, which says that Council 1 requests the Chief Executive Officer to prepare and submit a bid to host the 2023 World Energy Cities Partnership Annual General Meeting, and 2, allocates up to $250,000 from the current budget surplus for expenses related to bid preparation and event hosting, should the bid be successful. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. I'll speak at the end, I think, having made a number of points, if that's okay. Deputy Lord Mayor?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Maybe just to
Go on, Councillor Fleet. Was there something, Councillor Fleet? No, sorry.
Just to briefly speak on it, I don't see any harm in lodging or preparing a bid, but point 2 to allocate funding in the current financial year, I think it would be a sensible thing. The city, as a founding member of the World Energy Cities Partnership, it makes sense for us as a city, not as a state or a local government, to be leading. So I think that it's well considered and is a good compromise to the previous motion. So I'm happy to support this as a compromise. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thanks, Deputy Lord Mayor. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against the alternate motion? Councillor Bain.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I would like to support the alternate motion, but I'd like to support it with the comment that I feel like our city needs a conventions and conferences strategy, because tonight we've heard two equally excellent ideas for conventions and conferences, but there's no strategy or thought behind them other than ad hoc. Let's grab an opportunity here and there. So I'd encourage perhaps the administration to maybe consider that for a future discussion. But I think it's a great idea. It makes sense. We have been a member of the World Energy Cities for quite some time, and we are indeed a city where energy is in abundance in many ways, in the old way and the new way. So I'm fully supportive of bringing this AGM to Perth. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against?
So question first,
Councillor Fleetwood.
how many other, so are there 19 members?
19 members is my understanding.
And you went to the latest conference, are they all bidding?
I didn't go. The CEO and Daniel High from the economic development team went. CEO?
I don't know who might be bidding. There was some mention, I think Saudi Arabia might be one, but not certain.
So I'll speak in support. Anything that brings people to Perth, I'm happy with. I just worry that we were concerned about losing out to potentially New South Wales or Adelaide. Now we're potentially losing out to 19 other destinations with a 20-day window with the same cash. So I don't get that, but support you implicitly, Lord Mayor. Good luck.
Thank you, Councillor Fleeton. Anyone else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Gordon.
I'd like to move an amendment to part 2 if I can. Well, I can, so yeah. Can we just amend the figure to 50,000?
So is that even if the bid is successful? Because as it stands, it says allocates up to is the key point, $250,000 from the current budget surplus for expenses related to bid preparation and event hosting should the bid be successful. So I think that's an important distinction.
It's hard to host an event on $50,000, wouldn't it, Lord Mayor?
So,
all right, leave it as is, sorry.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gordon. Anyone else? Yes.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Are we going to approach Business Events Perth for some support in this, because they will contribute to direct delegate?
Well, I can answer that. Obviously, see, I reached out to I have already reached out to Business Events Perth, and yes, absolutely, that's the nature of our relationship with Business Events Perth. But CEO, perhaps you might like to expand on that. Don't have to.
I don't think I can expand, but
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. So the answer is yes. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Maybe you could just give us some of your personal insight. When did the City of Perth last host this event, do you know?
Chian. If by you, CEO.
Through your Lord Mayor, 2010 we hosted it.
12 years since, yeah. Anyone else for or against? So I'll close the discussion on the alternate motion by again reiterating I admire the spirit and ambition that Councillor Fleeton has brought to us, and I, in some ways, am a touch apologetic that this wasn't able to come forward earlier. However, the bidding process has only the bidding process has only very recently been outlined. And in keeping with Councillor Fleeton's ambition, although obviously admitting it is a different scale event, in this instance, this sort of event, I feel comfortable that the City of Perth can actually help influence the host city decision, and you heard what I had to say earlier. So that's why I brought this one forward. Recently, our CEO and Economic Development Alliance Manager travelled to Iceberg for the World Energy Cities Partnership, known as the WECP. It was the annual general meeting. The bidding process for the WECP 2023 AGM has opened this week. It's an inexpensive bidding process, and I think that's important. It's more of an application. The City of Perth is a foundation member of the WECP, along with, among others, Aberdeen in the UK, Houston in the United States, Calgary in Canada, and Stavanger in Norway. And there are currently, as identified already, 19 globally recognised energy cities with WECP membership. And a successful bid to host the WECP AGM would allow the city and key business and energy sector stakeholders to showcase Perth and our energy industry expertise, to a growing network of those 19 international cities and their delegations. It'll provide the opportunity for our world-leading energy sector and education institutions to promote new energy-related developments, their expertise and innovations in the energy sector, and provide opportunity for business and businesses and academic exchange. It'll allow for the promotion, the discussion and exchange of best practice related to energy transition, sustainability and economic development related initiatives in the member cities, and very importantly, will promote Perth and its recent urban developments to an international city network and business delegation, which would support our hotel, food and beverage and accommodation sectors. And yes, again, I say the WECP is a smaller scale event to the COP, but it's an event that we can successfully bid for on our own, although we will seek assistance, of course, from Business Events Perth, and be confident that with that we can directly influence the decision-making process to have the 2023 event awarded to Perth. So I commend this alternate to my fellow councillors. I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thanks, councillors. We move then to 18, matters for which the meeting may be closed, and there are no matters for which the meeting may be closed. 19 is urgent business. I do not believe there is any. And 20, that brings us to closure. So, with my thanks for councillors and administration's participation, I'll declare the ordinary council meeting closed at exactly 6:11 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone. Good evening.
Could you all please rise for the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Basil Zemplis.